So, ladies and gentlemen, may I kindly ask you for your attention, please? Thank you. Allow me to welcome you to today's event, Industry Day for PPP Project of the railway connection between Prague and Vaclav Havel Airport in Prague, held under the auspices of the Minister of Transport, His Excellency Mr. Martin Kupka. My name is Petr Gajdušek, I'm a legal expert at Portos, and I'll be moderating today's event. Thank you all for your great interest in this event, and given the fact that today's event is streamed and recorded, I extend a warm welcome also to our online participants. Those who have translating devices, I would like to kindly ask you to switch to channel 1, where the Czech translation is provided. Before I turn the floor over to our distinguished guests, let me very briefly say a few brief information about the Prague project. The Prague project is a pilot PPP railway project in the Czech Republic. It is about building the missing rail connection to the main Prague airport. At the same time, the implementation of this link will enable and enhance the transport capacity of the Prague airport. The implementation of a rail project of this scale will have a significant positive impact on the environment, emission, and decarbonization in central Bohemia and Prague itself. This project is also unique due to the fact that there is involvement of multilateral banks, such as EBRD, having advisory status to the project. Let me briefly summarize the program of today's event. The program is divided into 2 parts. In the first part, between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m., there will be a speaker's presentation, followed by individual panels to introduce the project in more detail. We have 3 panels. The first one is a legal panel, followed by technical panel, and finally, followed by financial panel. After each of these panels, there will be time space for your questions, so should any questions arise, don't hesitate to ask us. We are ready to respond. Then, after 4 p.m., we would move into the networking part, so please be our guests in the nearby premises that are located here at Fantova Kavárna. Should you have any questions, the panelists will be more than happy to answer them not only during the event itself, but also during the networking part. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is all from my side, and allow me to welcome the first speaker, who is Minister of Transport, His Excellency Mr. Martin Kupka. Dear Minister, floor is yours. Dobrý den. Dobrý den, pane ministře.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests and participants, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Ministry of Transport and Správa železnic, Railway Administration, I would like to warmly welcome you to this beautiful premises of the Fanta building to present to you the PPP Prague project. The Czech Republic regards public-private partnership as a suitable tool to finance transport infrastructure projects. We need to invest into the infrastructure development to ensure long-term quality and the availability of infrastructure for our citizens by harnessing expertise and experience of the private sector. Therefore, we see private sector involvement through public-private partnership as a valuable complement to traditional project delivery methods. There is broad political support across all the political parties to introduce PPP in transport infrastructure. And I can assure you this support is expected to continue also beyond the upcoming parliamentary elections in October 2025. In the area of road infrastructure, we are currently implementing the D4 motorway PPP project, with construction expected to be completed by December this year. Our positive experience with this project has encouraged the government to consider PPPs for other transport projects as well. In road infrastructure, we launched a tender on the 7th of August 2024 for the D35 motorway project. Additionally, we are preparing a railway project that will connect Prague and Václav Havel Airport, which we would like to present to you in more details at today's Investor Day. We expect to introduce the PPP model also for future projects, including selected sections of the high-speed railway in Moravia and other sections of the motorway network, D0, D3, and D55. I hope you find today's event fruitful and enjoyable, and I look forward to engaging with you on the upcoming opportunities for PPP projects in the Czech Republic. Thank you very much for your attention.
So, thank you very much, Your Excellency, for an excellent contribution, and I would like to kindly ask Mr. Nejasklep, the Deputy General Director for Railway Modernization, from Správa železnic. Správa železnic stands for the railway manager that is responsible for operation of railways owned by the state. It was for the English speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome you in this special event, which is the Industry Day. It deals with the special thing, PPP project for the connection from Prague to Kladno, with also the line to Václav Havel Airport. We are in position here as Railway Administration. We are the infrastructure manager. We have three main goals in our duties. The first one is to maintain and renewal and diagnostics existing tracks. The second goal is the operation control, also combined with the access to the lines, and also with the schedule description or schedule about the schedule of the trains. The third goal is the modernization of railway lines, and this is the part which consists also with this project to Kladno and to the Prague airport. The project is very interesting for us, very important. The connection is planned more than 30 years, I think, and now we are in the stage when some of the sections of this connection are finished. Some sections are under the construction. One section is under the tender for the construction, and the rest of the sections we are four here, and that is the PPP project for 4 sections between Prague, Kladno, and Václav Havel Europe and Airport, and also the circle from the Václav Havel Airport to the main branch between Hostivice and Praha Ruzyně. The whole length of the sections with PPP project is roughly 13 kilometers. As was told, the detailed presentation will be do there in our Industry Day, and I hope it will be very useful to change our positions, to answer the questions, and to discuss about the first PPP project in the railway sector in Czech Republic. And I wish you the pleasant event, and thank you for your cooperation. Thank you.
So, thank you very much, dear Mr. Deputy General Director. And now I would like to kindly ask Mr. Hořelica to take the floor, CEO of State Fund for Transport Infrastructure. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to wish you good afternoon and welcome you to this important event. I strongly believe that PPP projects will play a crucial role in developing transport infrastructure in the Czech Republic. I am pleased to confirm the State Fund Transport Infrastructure supports implementation of these projects. The pilot project involving the 4 highway has demonstrated effectiveness of this approach, and we are all excited that it will be put into operation by the end of this year. Additionally, other road projects, such as parts of the D35 highway, are being prepared. Currently, a pilot project for railway infrastructure is being prepared in the Czech Republic. This process is carried out with the support of EBRD, which brings valuable experience from many countries, and we are grateful for their cooperation. The SFDI is part of the project team and supports the construction, financing, and operation of the railway connection between Prague and Václav Havel Airport Prague through PPP. Utilization of private sector expertise and resources will undoubtedly help us to achieve efficient and sustainable infrastructure development. I believe that our collective efforts will lead to the successful realization of this project. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you all a productive ahead.
Thank you very much for your contribution. And now I would like to ask the representative from the EBRD to take the floor, Mr. Martinez, who is head of SI3P PPP Advisory Unit EBRD, and his colleague, Mr. Janeček, who is operation leader at the same unit, who will introduce the project in more detail with a focus on the scope and challenges. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's our pleasure to be here today. I want to start saying thank you to the Minister and to Správa and to the Czech government for the trust they put on EBRD and that allow us to help them in this very interesting and fantastic project. I would like to explain a little bit what is the role of EBRD or what is our role. I head the PPP advisory team, so we help clients, public clients of the bank, in structuring long-term private sector investment in infrastructure projects. In the case of the Prague project, we were involved from very early days. We developed the feasibility study, we helped in approvals, and now it's time to move the project to the tender stage. So that's the reason you are all here today. EBRD has a unique mandate in Czechia. We started operating, we re-engaged in 2021 with a temporary mandate. Okay? Our mandate is focused on private sector and facilitating the investment of the private sector in the country. Since then, we have invested in 125 projects, approximately 2 billion in Czech companies, and we are very proud to help the government in pilot projects like this one that hopefully result in more private sector investment. Our role as advisors is ensure that the project is, we call it bankable, you probably call it investable, effectively that you can really find all the information you need to make an investment decision. Okay? We are spending a lot of money. We are spending the time of our consultants working the project that you will meet today. And we really want and we really want to encourage you to participate. It's a real project. It's happening. It's quite mature. It's green. It's urban transport. It's a fantastic project and a fantastic opportunity. It's in a fantastic country, as you probably have seen, investment grade, with a very investor-friendly risk allocation. So honestly, it has it all. There are not many opportunities like this one in Europe currently. So just want to say a few remarks to please do consider to invest in the project. There is a window of opportunity. The minister mentioned other opportunities coming, but this one is happening now. Finally, I want to present Martin Janesek. He's in my team. He's the operational leader of this transaction, which means that he is on day-to-day discussions with the different stakeholders, consultants, etc. That's all. Happy to receive questions and happy to catch up with anybody after the session if you're interested to learn more from me. Martin?
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction and for the floor. If you can please switch the slides, thank you. To continue to the next one. So, as it was mentioned by other speakers already, the project consists from 11 separately prepared sections, which are going directly from the city center of Prague to the suburb represented by the relatively large town of Kladno. From those 11 sections, as it has been mentioned, 3 are already finished. One is under construction in the pure center of Prague, where it is a rehabilitation of the old brownfield. The second one under construction is in Kladno directly, where the construction is actually finishing, and the longest stretch from Kladno to the border of Prague in the length of 15 kilometers approximately. On that picture called S15, it's actually in the traditionally procured tender by Správa železnic, and what is marked in the red color, respectively the purple color in the picture, is the scope of the PPP projects we are targeting for you. That begins in the station called Praha Veleslavín, where it is enabled to switch from trains to the Prague underground system temporarily before the part connecting that section further to the Prague city center will be finally modernized and double tracked. And regarding the PPP projects, what we want to achieve is the functional relatively standalone part of the track connecting the airport itself with the city underground public transport system. That's represented by that red parts, 3 red parts called A46, A47, 848. What is in the purple is the section A33, which is representing the loop or so-called rounding, which is important to bring to the projects better variability of the operational concept of the trains, and as well to enable trains go directly from Kladno to Prague via the station Ruzyně. There will be further discussion regarding the risk allocation on that A33 sections, where we were asking during the written part of market consultings, which we passed through during the June of this year, and we can get back to it later on with more details. But in principle, we received that feedback, and Správa železnic is prepared to bring the risk as they are traditionally addressed in the PPP project of that kind. The length of the project has been already mentioned. It depends on how much individual rail tracks are you counting, but the total length is approximately 14 kilometers. The estimated capital expenditures are slightly more than 1 billion euro in the prices of 2020-24 year. What Správa is estimating is 4 years of construction of the sections and 25 years of its operation by the selected concessionaire. What is necessary to be mentioned? The role of Správa is not to operating the rolling stock itself. Yes? So the project is considering only the construction and maintenance of the selected sections of the track without the rolling stock operation or anything else which is usually recognizable in the other railway project of similar kind. So it's because the role of Správa železnic is purely separated from the railway stock operation, where the full liberalization has been already introduced in the Czech Republic many years ago. You can see that there are blue trains, yellow trains, etc. So each one of the different operators, railway stock operations. So. The railway rolling stock operation, it's tendered separately by the municipality of Prague and municipality of the Central Bohemia region, and it's coordinated in time with the project. So the rolling stock should be delivered on time, purely at the end of the construction of the respective sections by the concessionaire. What is important that Správa will still remain responsible for dispatching the trains and preparing that time schedules, etc. So there will be no fully scope of the railway administration transmitted to the concessionaire, and it will be splitted. So the responsibilities which has that network aspects will remain with Správa, and this needs to be purely addressed in the contract itself. If we can switch for a short portion of time to the risk profile of the project, it's nothing unusual, we can say. So for all parts now, after the market sounding, the result is that the preparation of the project itself will remain with the public sector, so granting the permits, land acquisition, etc. The transmitting of the risk regarding the A33 section has been somehow slightly modified after the feedback received during the market consultation. What will be, of course, enabled is slightly change in the project design, because Správa železnic has relatively well-developed project design for the respective section, and we are aware, of course, that it's necessary somehow to allow concessionaires to modify the project, but there will be a limitation, especially in the design of the stations, which are somehow proposed by the respective architects, and the changes there are somehow limited from that point of view, and it's necessary to be conserved in the actual stage of design as it is proposed. From the financing point of view, but there will be a separate block. So only very generally, the state is prepared to bear the foreign exchange risk during the operation period. Of course, during the construction phase, it will be the standardly risk of the private sector. What Správa železnic is as well prepared to accept is bear the development of the market prices between the best and final offer stage and financial close. So the movement in the base rates on the market will be bared by the state, and of course the risk of margins will remain with the private sector as usual. What has been as well reflected is the situation of the huge inflation from the past year. So we are reflecting that the market somehow wants to share the risk of inflation during the construction as well. So this will be a relatively huge change in comparison with the mentioned pilot project on the D4 motorway, where the risk of inflation during construction was completely on the private sector side, and as I mentioned, we are reflecting what's happened on the market, and it will be surely reflected. The last portion of the risks are those risks with the network elements. Yes, so we have here on the project, of course, the signaling technology. It will be purely in the regime of European Train Control System level 2. The communication technology for that signaling equipment as well will be based on the GSMR technology, and the last point is the traction and energy equipment of the track, which is not specifically dedicated only for the respective section of the PPP project, but has, as was mentioned, the network impacts to the other parts of the project, which is not considered as a PPP. And especially those set of risks is necessary to be deeply discussed during the competitive dialogue, how to properly manage them. Okay, so that's the introduction from the you can say technical point of view, and I can give the floor to Petr again and continue. Thank you very much.
We are going. You should go, and Mr. Lehan will come after that. Okay. So thank you very much for a very detailed and thoughtful presentation. And now I would like to kindly ask Mr. Linhart, Transactional Advisor from Deloitte, to take a floor. Mr. Linhart, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the conference. We are delighted to be here with you today. First of all, let me acknowledge our collective effort of our consortium advisory team, which consists of Deloitte, Portos, Česká spořitelna, and AFRY. Our team, together with contracting authorities, started preparing the tender documentation, ensuring to follow a very tight schedule. And we are also committed to ensure that the tender documentation is tailored to practical experiences and best practices on the construction and investment markets. To achieve this, we have already conducted an extensive market survey, which has provided us really invaluable insights. And today's conference is further proof of our dedication to ensuring that the entire process proceeds smoothly, without any delays, without significant obstacles, and most importantly, in a manner that maximizes the benefits of the PPP model to the stakeholders. Lessons learned from events such as this one can lead to smooth concessionaire selection process, ensuring that the project will have not to be stopped or postponed in any phase. And your contribution, insights, and knowledge exchange during this event or after, during the networking, is really helping us to achieve these objectives. So thank you very much for coming, and our experts look forward to discuss with you during this conference and during the networking. Thank you very much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank to all the keynote speakers for introducing the project and placing it into broader framework of the infrastructure development in the Czech Republic. I would like to also thank to the EBRD representatives for providing a more detailed technical description of the project and highlighting its proposed uniqueness and valuability. I would like to now start the second part of our event, namely the panel discussion. As I have already announced, after each panel there will be time for you, the audience, to ask questions. So let me welcome to the stage the speakers from our legal panel. Let me briefly introduce my dear colleagues, again Mr. Martinez and Mr. Janeček from EBRD, who've been already introduced, and then Mrs. Šveřepová, legal expert from Portos Legal Advisory, Mr. Žižka, legal expert also from the Portos Advisory, and we have two legal experts from Správa železnic, Mrs. Piknová, and Mrs. Machalková. So I would like to kindly ask Mrs. Šveřepová to take the floor and begin. Thank you.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, very warm welcome from me as well. At the beginning of the legal panel, I would like to shortly describe the procedure, how we will select the future concessionaire of the first rail PPP project. I think I need to mention at the very beginning that this is a public tender, which means that we are bound by specific legal requirements, especially Public Procurement Act and other rail regulation, which means we don't have so much possibilities to choose. And we also need to follow very strict rules. And within these limits, we decided the most flexible way of choosing the future concessionaire. That is competitive dialogue. This is a type of procedure that was effectively and successfully used in the first PPP project on Highway D4. And it consists of two basic steps. The more details will describe my colleague Philip on next slide. But so till now, only few words. The first step will focus on proving qualification of potential bidders. In the second step, we will focus on negotiation with the bidders and the potential concessionaire. To the negotiation, only 4 best qualified bidders will be invited. Regarding qualification, we are focusing, no surprise, on economic and technical qualification criterion. Regarding economic, we will ask future participants to have sufficient turnover. Current suggestion is in the amount of 5 billion crowns. As regarding the technical qualification, we will be sure that our future bidders have sufficient experiences with rail projects, implementation of rail projects, and also and mostly with the PPP projects. We would prefer to have participants with specific experience in the sector of rail PPPs. Another request from our side will be to have participants with experiences and backgrounds with implementation and preparation of rail project documentation. And last but not least, we would like to be sure that our future bidders have experiences with providing financing in sufficient amount, at least 5 billion crowns. All these requirements and conditions, as I described, is published on the tender profile of Správa železnic as information memorandum, and I would strongly advise you or to those who haven't so far done so to get familiar with this memorandum, because it contains all details and also details that we will present you within next panels. In the second step, which after the negotiation, the evaluation will be based on 2 major criterion. The first one is availability payment, net present value, and the second one will be qualitative aspects. The major one will be the amount of the payment. So in this point, I will give floor to my colleague, and he will describe you in more details the timeline of the whole procedure.
Thank you very much, Katerina. As you said, I will describe the indicative timeline, but in general, the competition dialogue basically consists of 2 main stages, which is qualification and competitive dialogue itself, including negotiation and awarding the contract. And frankly say, the timeline you can see on the table behind me is quite ambitious, and mainly the only reason we are doing it so tightly is that we would be very happy to acquire the financing from EBRD, and the mandate of EBRD in the Czech Republic will be terminated by the end of 2026. But get back to the schedule. We will start the tender by the end of this year, and the participants will have then 10 weeks to submit their request to participate. We reserve, or the contracting authority reserve for itself, 8 weeks to assessing the bids and its conformity with the qualification criteria set out in the tender documentation. 8 weeks should be also enough for possible explanation of the bids and for shortlisting the participants. As you heard on the previous slide, we will shortlist the participants to number 4, which is the number of participants we would like to launch the competitive dialogue with. The participants will have approximately 8 weeks to submit their application to the competitive dialogue, and then the main stages of the whole procedure will begin. We place a great emphasis on negotiation with the participants, so we expect that this phase will take approximately half a year, but the main outcome is that we expect that it will be 4 rounds with all of 4 participants. And 1 round will be take one or 2 days for a participant. After the competitive dialogue will be closed, we will invite all participants to submit their tenders. It's a final tender, so this tender shall include all aspects of the solution. And taking into consideration that the solution has to be very complex, so we reserve at least several weeks or even a few months to the participants to file the final solution. The competitive dialogue should ideally lead to 4 solutions from 4 highly qualified participants, and we have the amazing opportunity to choose the best one. We expect that assessing the final tenders and evaluate them and possible ask the participants to explain the final tenders will take the contracting authority 4 weeks. And last but not least, one of the advantages of competitive dialogue is that we can, to a certain level, still discuss the final tender with the winner. And the aim of this discussion should be just to clarify the tender and confirm all contractual conditions specified. Under the ideal circumstances, we would like to have the contract awarded by the end of 3rd quarterly of 2026, and we would like to have all conditions for financial closure fulfilled until the end of 2026. However, as I said, this plan is quite ambitious, and it's possible that it will have to be extended. Thank you very much. Can I ask you for the next slide? Yes, very important question is permitting status and land acquisition. As you could see from previous slides, the project consists of section A46, A47, A48, and A33, so-called running. With regard to section A46 to A48, the contracting authority seeks to extend and confirm the validation of environmental impact assessment statement, because the design of these sections have been amended in the meantime. And the process of EIA is now ongoing on Ministry of Environment. A valid EIA statement is a condition for issuing the follow-up permits, but there are no non-major obstacles to the contracting authority nowadays for acquiring the extension and acquiring the verification of the current EIA statement. With regards to section A46, we already seeking the permit documentation for the joint permit, and the zoning permit is nowadays being finalized. With regards to section A47, as you can see, the joint permit procedure is ongoing. And with regards to the section A48, zoning permit is already in a legal force, and we are obtaining the documentation for the building permit. And we expect that the building permit procedure will be initialized in the near future. Let me briefly introduce to the Czech law of construction, because I used few terms you probably don't know what it means. Because under Czech law, a zoning permit is a permit that establishes the basic spatial and material layout for the building. However, it is not possible to conduct legally a building just based on a zoning permit. In order to commence building, the contracting authority will then have to seek for the building permit. But nowadays, it's possible to seek for one joint permit, which includes both a zoning permit and a building permit. And finally, I would like to mention that Czech construction law has been recently recodified. A new Construction Act has been adopted, and new rules for the permitting of construction have been enforced in July this year. One of the main outcomes is that under the new Construction Act no longer distinguishes between a zoning permit and a building permit, but introduces a single unified one, building permit. In Czech, it's called povolení záměru. Last but not least, we have the most work to do on section A33, because we have been still considering if this section should be included in PPP project or not. But based on the decision, based on the outcomes of market sounding, we still continue to procuring the project documentation, so we still expect that this section should be included. Nowadays, at this section, we are at the stage of EIA service, and we prepare documentation for EIA statement. And land acquisition. This process is a basis for resettlement plan and social impact plan, which are documents standardly used by EBRDs to ensure that the project financed by EBRDs are carried out in the most insightful ways toward the people and area concerned. Land acquisition, of course, will be carried out in compliance with the Czech law and international standards, namely EBRD's Performance Requirement 5. All potential land plots have already been identified based on the data from the cadastre. And the key conclusions of constructing authority is that the project will need no physical displacement, which means that no individuals will lose their housing, requiring them to move to another location. The project will mainly affect just agricultural land, and we assume that gardens and other land will be affected just temporarily. Process of land acquisition is currently ongoing, and we conducting the service in the second and third quarter of 2024, and based on the result of the service, we send amicable offers to all owners affected, because the aim is to negotiate with all owners affected so we can ensure that the expropriation process will be used only as a last resort. Thank you very much for the word.
Hi. I wanted to summarize. There's a lot of information. So in summary, the tender procedure is going to be a standard tender procedure. It's a two-stage process. Many of you are familiar with that. We have pre-qualified of up to 4 consortium based on the experience of the consortium in similar projects, and then followed by a competitive dialogue with up to 4 rounds of dialogue, and then awarding the contract with to the pretty much the lowest net present value on availability payments. There is a small criterion in terms of quality of the offer, but again, it is a huge emphasis on the lowest price. Regarding the timing is to start before the end of the year, so please get ready, form your consortiums, team up with your partners, because the timeline is tight. We will not like to grant extensions if it's not really needed. It was mentioned that there is a deadline of the project to achieve financial close by the end of 2026. But that's not because the EBRD is going to stop operating in the Czech Republic. That's not the reason. Okay? It's because we really want to implement the project as soon as possible. Inflation is ticking, and the project needs to be implemented ASAP. There is no obligation for the successful bidder to obtain financing from EBRD and from any other lender. And again, we are just preparing the project according to our policy requirements, which believe it brings beneficiaries to the preparation. And finally, in terms of permits and land acquisition, there is this new legislation that allows for the joint permit, which brings a little bit of uncertainty that Správa is managing. Okay? We are aware of that, and we hope the joint permit eventually will reduce the timeline to obtain these permits. Probably the big question mark is the A33 section, because it's early stages in terms of permitting. But some of you opined during the market sounding that you will embrace taking these risks as part of the implementation of the project. So again, Správa is considering, it will be discussed during the competitive dialogue. And finally, land acquisition, I would say there is no major risk. The process is starting now. There are very few landowners being impacted, and we haven't identified any significant impact, so we are confident that this is not going to be a reason for delaying the process. And with this, over to you. If anybody has any question to ask, happy really to answer.
Okay, thank you very much. So now the floor is, it's up to the audience to ask questions. Just don't forget there is an old so-called 5 seconds rule, which says that after a speaker finished his speech and the moderator will ask the audience for the questions, he should give the audience at least 5 seconds. If in less than 5 seconds the moderator says, thank you, there are no questions, no one will ask. So we will wait, and should you have any questions, the microphone will be handed to you by our assistants. Thank you. Yeah, I can see.
Hello. Thank you. Tomáš Jareba, Czech Infrastructure Association. I would like to, first of all, on behalf of the association and our members, I would like to thank to organizers, to all of you, for such an event. I think this is a great event we would expect to see in Western Europe as well. So I think this project deserves such involvement. Thanks to EBRD for great work and involvement, to Minister of Transport, Správa železnic, and its advisors. I have a couple of questions, if I may. They might be answered maybe later on, but I would love to ask. During the market consultation, you raised the issue that the signaling and telecommunication equipment, there might be limited competition in the Czech market. And I believe that the responses during the market consultation definitely probably highlighted that issue. I wanted to ask whether there is it might be attached or answered in the technical section, but we would love to know. For example, in the recommendation of the association was that we recommended that the signaling and telecommunication equipment is selected separately by Správa železnic, and then the concessionaire takes over the contract, for example. That's one of the options. Then I would love to ask also the other questions, whether you considered that the scope of the concessionaire would be extended by the maintenance of the other sections as well, just to make the maintenance larger than 10 or 14 kilometers. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I think that signaling and safety equipment is very important, and we devoted very huge concern to it. And I don't think that just excluding it out of the project will solve all the problems. So nowadays we seek the options to include it in the project, and the responses from market soundings were quite good. There are quite a lot of concessionaires who would be able to carry out the signaling equipment within the PPP project. So it's still not like 100% closed. We're not decided yet, but we think that the signaling equipment will be included in the PPP project. If it's correct, Martin, would you like to adjust something?
Maybe just what needs to be mentioned regarding the signaling equipment is that as the Prague project has been presented, it's the 11th section together, and it needs to work together for the rolling stock operators and should work for Správa to enable them to dispatching the trains on the whole Prague, not only for the respective PPP sections. So surely it makes sense to us to include and as well to Správa it makes sense to include the signaling and safety equipment into the project, because it's the basement for the availability track and the pure principle of the availability of the track. But what we have decided is that as well the construction bodies responsible for the other sections will have a duty to cooperate with the selected concessionaire in the meaning of connecting and establishing the compatibility of the signaling and communicating equipments to enable work together for the whole Prague. And as mentioned, we really want an open competition without any unreasonable limitation for that portion of equipment.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions from the audience? I don't see any rising hands. So maybe if my colleagues from Správa železnic would like to add something to the presentation?
So if there are no questions, I would like to add one remark to the presentation my colleague delivered. A lot of questions from market sounding were if we are going to reimburse the participants for the costs of preparation of tenders. And we thought about this deeply and decided not to, because it's not a common practice at Správa železnic, and it's our policy not to reimburse. So this is the decision so far.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Still no questions. I would never expect it, but we are quite ahead of a schedule. So maybe I have one question, based on your presentation. How much emphasis and why will you place on a price in the evaluation? That was a question that was also raised before we organized this event. So maybe I would ask my colleagues from Portal's Legal Advisory.
Well, I think that Mrs.
Viknova
would like to answer, so
sure,
I let the floor to her.
Thank you for the question. It's true that the main emphasis will be put on the lowest price. It will be the main criterion, which will amount to probably 95%. We are also considering the qualitative criterion because we are actually obliged to by law, and because it is important, but so far we are considering up to 5% in the evaluation. As for the specific criterion, there are a lot of ideas from the market sounding responses, and this will be part of negotiations in the competitive dialogue. So the exact criterion and the amount will be the result from negotiations in competitive dialogue. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
And maybe I would add one last remark at the end. We really would like to have as much participants as possible in the qualification phase, especially. So I would like to ask you, go really precisely and thoroughly the tender documentation and also the market testing published. And in this phase, please use the time to send us your feedbacks and your questions, because, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we are the limits of public tender, and we will try to be as clear as possible, but we would like to mitigate the delay of the whole process by necessity to answer questions in the later phases. So please don't hesitate to send us your questions also after this industry day.
Okay, Mr. Janeček, please.
Maybe last remark from my point of view regarding the references, which has been many times mentioned, will be necessary to prove from the bidders, and as well the confirmation of the public authorities who were awarding you the contracts you will be asked for that. So please, if you are already somehow decide to take part in the tender, please reach your partners in advance and prepare yourself for that necessary confirmation of your references, because it takes time. We know it, and just want to ask you to prepare yourself in advance for fulfillment this requirement. Thank you.
Yes, please. May I kindly ask you for a microphone?
Sorry, one question as to the exact timing. Is your plan to start that before Christmas, as you brought up the public confirmations for references?
The intention is to start the tender procedure before Christmas, but it will fall. The deadline for presenting the request for participation will fall, as it was mentioned by Filip Žižka, somewhere to the first week in February, probably. Yes, so there will be a sufficient time to finish your request for participation after the Christmas as well.
Probably just one remark, as you brought up the reference confirmations from the authorities. As per our experience, most authorities over Christmas are on holidays, and it will be very hard to obtain such confirmations, just as a general remark.
We will take this Christmas period into consideration, and we will amend the period for sending your qualification and justly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any more questions before we switch to the technical panel? Yes, I can see there.
Łukasz Żypy, Gulermak. One question about the EBRD financing, because there is a resettlement plan which brings obligation on the selected parties, right? So not only land buyout, but additional obligations. So the question, who shall cover the cost of additional obligations? Thank you.
No, there is no obligation to obtain EBRD financing whatsoever. Okay? My colleague will mention before. When we work with clients, when we work with public sector clients, as I was mentioning, we aim to improve the project so the procurement is shorter, that the information you need to bid for this project is there. And that's why we are doing all these environmental and social due diligence according to our procurement, our policies. Effectively, what that means is that when the project reaches to the, when there is a successful bidder that wants to have financing, part of the due diligence by EBRD is in place because we have done it for the government as part of the preparation. But again, I want to be, to highlight again that there is no obligation whatsoever to contact EBRD for financing or to obtain EBRD financing.
Okay, thank you. Last question. You still have an opportunity to ask our colleagues during the networking part of the event. So If that's it, I would like to express my gratitude to the panelists, and I would like to kindly ask the members of the technical panel to join us. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Martinez and Mr. Jančuk will stay with us. Thank you very much. And I would like to introduce Mr. Pavlicek, the technical expert on railway from A3. Mr. Nesklep, the Deputy General Director from SZ, who was already speaking. Thank you for joining us again. And Mr. Lipa, Project Manager of Prague from Správa železnic. Thank you. Oh, and of course, I forgot the last but not least, Mrs. Hannah Ali. Thank you very much, from A3.
Okay, so thanks for introducing, and let's get to it. So although the idea of the connection, the airport to the center of Prague by train has been on the scene for several decades, the current technical solution has been selected and approved within the feasibility study in 2015. Since that time, some sections of the entire project has already been completed or are underway. As an example, on the right, we can see Negroli Viaduct, the first ever Prague railway bridge, whose reconstruction was completed in 2020. In the middle is a new railway station, Praha-Bubny, construction of which is underway, with estimated completion in 2025. And on the left, the future design of railway station Masarykovo nádraží, reconstruction of which has recently started. Okay, and now some basic parameters of the whole project. The main goal of the project is to secure the comfortable and reliable connection from the center of Prague to the airport, and of course to the city of Kladno, which is the largest city of Bohemian Central region. For this purpose, the whole railway line will be double track and electrified. This will secure enough sufficient capacity for the requirements of the transport customer. So the scope of transport will look like following. From railway station Praha-Masarykovo nádraží to the airport, we will have 6 pairs per hour with travel time 25 minutes. From Masarykovo nádraží to Kladno, we will have 4 pairs per hour in peaks. Electric multiply units are expected to be operated with capacity of 400 seats. And during peak times, these units will be doubled, so the final capacity during peak time will be 800 seats. Virtually, all rail crossing will be removed. The part of the project is the creation of parking areas nearby the station, and of course, brand new stations and stops with modern architectural design. Okay, and now to the PPP project itself. The included sections in PPP are marked as red and purple. In the beginning, it's important to say that from the operational point of view, this PPP section is completely independent. It means that trains can terminate at railway station Praha Veleslavín with direct transfer to Metro A line. If the trains would end at the railway station Praha Veleslavín, the scope of transport would look like this. Of course, it's very similar to the previous one, but the ending point is Prague Veleslavín. The section S15 will proceed. The construction of section S15 will proceed the PPP project, so the concessionaire will connect to the newly reconstructed section. On the other hand, the section A36 is delayed, so the concessionaire will have to connect to the existing current single-track line. The different color of the sections is due to the different stages of preparation, because the red section is in the stage of project documentation for building permit, while the purple section is in the stage of pre-project documentation and environmental impact assessment in processing. The aim is to handle the concessionaire the documentation for project permit in the detail of project documentation for execution of the construction. But this documentation, but the concessionaire will not be bound by this documentation, and it's assumed that the railway Správa železnic will define minimal technical requirements. Okay, now these are the technical parameters according to current project documentations. Some of these parameters will be allowed to the modifications during the competitive dialogue. For example, speed profile, the reduction of load class, or changing the track level. On the other hand, some of them will not, mainly due to the network overlap, and it considers mainly the power supply system, signaling and communication system, and platform length. Okay, and now to the section starting at Veleslavín to Ruzyně and turn off to stop Praha Dlouhá Míle. This section is 6.5 kilometers long. The station stops and substation labels will be shown on the following slides. So now we will say something about railway bridges. They are marked by dark blue arrows. The railway bridges, the load-bearing system of new railway bridges will be reinforced concrete frame, and the width of the bridges will vary between 10 to 30 meters. Of course, in the section is a lot of pedestrian underpasses or passes marked as light blue color, and of course 3 excavated tunnels, as we can see the blue point, and the longest one behind Ruzyně. It's a single track tunnel with the approximately length of 140 meters. Okay. It must be said at the outset that architectonical design of all station stops and all other parts of projects constitute copyrighted work. So so the concessionaire will be obligated to consult any modifications with the author, who will perform also the supervision during the construction. And now to the Prague railway station Prague-Veleslavín. It's an underground station with direct transfer to Metro C line and other public transport modes. It has two the underlying part has two external platforms, but of course there is one surface island platform which allows to ending and turning the trains in this station. Okay, now the traction substation at Liboc. This substation will also power supply another parts of railway junction Prague. So in the case of such network overlap, it's assumed that the possibilities of modifications will be very limited. Here we can see a new stop in Liboc, two external platforms, simple roofing, and of course new railway station in Ruzyně. In the distance we can see the single track tunnel towards to Kladno, and of course turn off to railway station at the airport. And finally we get to the stop Praha Dlouhá Míle, which is a multi-modal terminal with the largest parking area in the project, over 800 parking places. Here you can see the bus platform, and to the right, addition to the road, should in the future be added the tram connection. Okay, so and now we get to the section from Praha Dlouhá Míle to railway station letiště Václava Havla. This is 3.7 kilometers long section. It starts with excavated tunnel, which is 300 meters long approximately, and goes to the basically to the next tunnel, which is before the railway station, and this tunnel is approximately 550 meters long. Okay, now the railway station itself is the underground excavated railway station with two external platforms. So relatively simple solution, nothing complicated. Okay, and the final section of the PPP project, which is the rounding of the rail connection of Vaclav Havel Airport, 5 kilometers long section, almost all in the excavated tunnel till the blue point. So you can see one new stop, Praha letiště Václava Terminal West. The biggest plus of this section is relatively non-complicated in terms of ES and land acquisitions, but it's challenging to coordinate with the airport because the airport itself has a lot of project intentions, like building a new runway or extension the terminals. But if it's built, it will allow direct long-distance connection of the airport with selected regional cities. And of course, it will improve the whole transport capacity of the project. Okay, so I think that that's all from my side, and allow me to ask a colleague of mine, Hanna Ali, which will introduce the environmental and social issues.
Okay, thank you. I will remain seated because I have really very short introduction to the environmental and social aspects of this project. As an independent advisors, we are really taking care so that all these aspects and requirements are met by this project, which means that the project is in compliance with all the national, European, and the contracting authority and international standards, such as EBRD or any other international financial institution. So as my colleagues from EBRD mentioned, we are in real taking care that you as a future concessionaire are able to ask for the funding. So our team is preparing an additional documents to fill all the requirements and gaps that we identified during the advisory work. These documents are very basic and standard according to the EBRD policies and standards. These are, for example, social impact assessment, stakeholder engagement plan in its very early stage, and resettlement action plan. From the environmental aspects, we are as well taking care about the project, so we are delivering kind of approach to prove that we are saving CO2 emissions in comparison with the current state, which is one of the biggest targets of the electrification of the railway net in the Czech Republic. Then we are updating noise studies and so on. And one of the biggest or the most crucial document is Environment and Social Management and Monitoring Plan, which will set for you as a concessionaire some mitigation measures that are resulted from the permitting process, from the project design process, from the national legislation, and so on. And in this document, we are preparing as well for you the mitigation measures that should be met during the whole project process, which means still we are in the pre-construction phase because not all the project design is finalized, as you know. And as well, we are covering all the measures that should be met during construction and during operation phase. So in general, the role and responsibilities are described in these documents. But of course, during the contracting and during preparation of each stage of the process, you will still discuss and share the responsibilities and roles with the contracting authority, which is Správa železnic, and you will set it in prior to each stage. Well, this is for me very shortly. I can as well add that we are as well trying to highlight what has been done during the process by so far, that the environmental impact assessment has been done for almost all the design sections, and we are in compliance with all the results with the EIA statement, conditions and requirements, and these are as well embedded and incorporated in the environmental social management and monitoring plan. Well, that's I think for everything.
Okay, thank you very much, my dear colleagues Petra Pavlíček and Hanka Ali from the AFRY. And now I would like to give the floor to the audience. Should you have any questions, either relevant to what has been just presented or relevant to any other technical aspects of the project, our colleagues will be more than happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you very much. I would love to return to my previous question. I asked whether you considered the extending the responsibility for the maintenance also to other sections which are being built at the moment or will be built traditionally, just to extend the scope of the maintenance, because otherwise there will be just 10 kilometers. Is it possible to include, have you considered including like S15 also under the responsibility of the concessionaire to operate? That's one thing. And the other question is the railway stations. I understand the railway stations are going to be built by the concessionaire, but are they going to be also maintained and operated by the concessionaire? That's another question.
Okay, sorry too much that we forgot to give you an answer before to that question. It's true in the market sounding questions there were that question, what can theoretically inclusion of the section S15 in the length of 15 kilometers bring to the concessionaire if it can have some positive impact if it will be transferred immediately after the construction by public sector to the concessionaire and ask concessionaire to be responsible for maintenance this. But the overall results from the market sounding was that nothing significant changes if you have the project of the length of 15 kilometers or 30 kilometers, and no other possibilities of inclusion other sections to the project has been recognized. So that's the final decision of Správa that the section S15 will not be considered as a part of the PPP project, and the project will be that standalone 15 kilometers approximately, consisting from the 4 sections as shown. Sorry, anything other?
Railway stations, also the operations of those stations would be concessionaires' responsibility?
The stations will be fully in the responsibility of concessionaire. So in the limits for a redesign it, which will be addressed, the concessionaire can use the retail spaces inside the stations on his own. Of course, there will be some queries from the public sector addressed what kind of services needs to be covered by the concessionaire, and on the other hand, what retail activities will be forbidden, like casinos, etc.
Thank you. Additional question: the A33, the rounding, is it going to be included as an option, or is it going to be included as a full scope?
Look, in the best scenario, it is included. It's necessary to be discussed with the bidders because look, the permit and the land for the A33 will be delivered later on than for the first 3 sections, 46, 47, 48, and this needs to be reflected, especially in the terms of length of the financing, which will be able for the concessionaire to cover the longer period of construction. So in the best scenario, A33 is included, and we should work together with the preselected bidders on it and find the proper way how to enable to stay as part of the project.
Okay, and have you considered the financing of the A33? Have you considered that it should be in the responsibility of the concessionaires or concessionaire, or you considered investment grant, for example, that this part, if triggered by the option, that would be financed by the state directly?
It's maybe for the financial panel, but in any case, the financial grants of any kind are not considered within this project, and we would like to ask concessionaires to establish their financial structure for covering all the 4 sections.
Okay, and I promise the last...
Sorry, just to finish, just to clarify. Within the 1.1 billion mentioned before, the rounding is included. But it will be discussed with the pre-qualified bidders. Okay.
And I promise the last question.
Don't worry, you have avalanche of questions and dialogue. Dialogue is like a parachute. It works only when it's open. So go ahead.
Can you indicate what's the perceived timeline of the completion of S15? Because S15, if there is a rounding would need to connect to S15. would that line be completed by then, or and the S15 would also sort of define the connection with the rounding?
So now talking about branch between Praha-Ruzně and Kladno, S15, which is now under, or now we are looking for the constructor. We expect that construction will start next year with the end by year 2028 with some maybe finalization in 2029. So, but both S15 and section A33, we are in coordination. There are also some preparation in railway station Jeneč and also in station Hostivice-Jenešek. So both sections are in full cooperation. And also, maybe I would like to add that the constructor must coordinate their works also with design of section A33 in future.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Yes, I can see gentleman behind.
Yes, thank you, Benoit from Aegis. Thank you for this presentation. My question is also related to the section 33. So I'm reflecting on the answer that we got from the legal panel saying that there will be no reimbursement of the bid cost, and knowing that the A33 is less developed from a design perspective than the other sections, will you expect the tenderer to develop the design of the section 33 during the bid stage? And by that, meaning the cost will be, you mean the 4 bidders will bear the cost of this design? Thank you.
Okay, I will try to answer. Look, during the competitive dialogue itself, no detailed design for A33 will be required from the bidders. Yes, only we need to together find a way how to properly design the future involvement of the selected concessionaire, respectively the preferred bidder, to find a way how to more deeply involve the concessionaire into the design phase. But we are not going to ask for a detailed design of A33 during the competitive dialogue. So this can theoretically somehow save the money on the bidder side.
Is there a reference design already done for that section or not?
Is that how you call it, Peter? That pre-project design stage. That's the kind of documentation which is serving to be able to obtain the environmental impact assessment statement and as well to define the minimum technical requirements for that section as well. We can somehow say if in comparison it's the very close documentation to the level of what we in previous time have for the zoning permit.
So in summary, Správa would like to include that section as part of the scope, and because of the level of development, we don't know yet if it's possible, and we will discuss with the shortlisted bidders because it has implications in terms of timing, cost of financing, and obviously value for money for Správa.
And as someone of you were asking regarding the possibility to exclude the A33, it's a possible risk of the negotiation procedure that we will not be able to reach the common conclusion, which will enable to remain with the A33 in the project. So in that case, it will be addressed somehow in the request for participation documentation, that this option of excluding A33 can happen to avoid any further potential appeal against this narrowing of the scope of the project. Yes, so please count with that as well in your mind.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions? I can see gentlemen behind. Yes.
Marcel Babčínský, Ernst & Young. Martine, I would like to ask what is the approximate cost split between the rounding section and the remaining sections? Because from the financing viewpoint, it's important to know whether we are seeking 1.1 billion or a significantly lower number. And also, during the concession dialogue, the bidders will need to have enough time to secure financing. Thanks.
Understood. I don't know. You have in mind the numbers, any one of you? What is the capex for a rounding?
Estimated
capex for the rounding part. We have it, of course, in the tables considered, but maybe not in mind.
I think something about 6 billion or 7 billion Czech crowns.
So in the meaning of euro, we are talking approximately 350 million euro for the A33 section, approximately. But we can confirm later on, and it will be described. The estimation capex per section, of course, in the request for qualification.
Okay. Any more questions? Yes, I can see.
Hi. You suggested that the building near the airport could be challenging, just given that it's an operational airport. How would that risk be managed? Is it by the concessionaire, by the grantor, by the airport? How will that be managed?
That's a tough question.
It's from my point of view not a tough question. It's under the discussion between Správa and Letiště Praha, company who is responsible for operating the airport for a long period of time. And actually, if Správa is, I hope, very close to establish a contract agreement between Správa and between the airport regarding the coordination of activities of both partners within that area, and that contract agreement somehow will be addressed as well to the shortlisted bidders to work with, and to know what the necessities for coordinations contractually agreed are. So we will work together with that contract and its condition.
There are many airports in the world has gone through the same. Okay, so all the hubs have gone through keeping operating while they improve rail or metro access. Nice. And it's very important also for the airport that to have a direct connection which is green and sustainable in order to reduce their footprint. So they are the first one committed to the connection.
But our activities and activities of Prague Airport aims in the place of the airport are very strongly coordinated, and with the detailed information, it's from my point of view for the communication during the process of contractor negotiations.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. We are still a little bit ahead of time, so I would like to use this opportunity for having representatives from SJET here with one question. My question, based on your presentation, is: will Správa železnic require all products to be approved in accordance with the SJET internal guidance before they're being integrated into work?
I will try to answer. No, it is not be necessary to have all approved for the products or technologies or the parts of the construction, but in the moment of the signing of the contract, or in the moment when the contractor put the part to the construction, but it will be necessary to have the approval in the time of handover of the construction in the end of the period of concessions. That means after 25 years. But there are, of course, some restrictions from the point of view of the products which are going to the European Union. So that means the products will meet the EU requirements, and also we have some special directive in the place of signaling system and also electricity, which is also necessary to meet with this directive and the process of the approval of the signaling and electricity parts are described in our direction.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Director General. I would like to express my thankfulness and gratitude to the panelists of this technical panel, and thank you very much for your presentations. And now I would like to welcome the panelists from the financial panel. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to again welcome Mr. Martinez and then also Mrs. Kiseleva, the Principal Banker for Infrastructure for EMEA from EBRD, Mr. Mansour, Project Financing Department Representative from EIB, Mrs. Karolina Mlodzik, Financial and Commercial Expert from Deloitte, Mr. Jan Schneider, Team Leader and Financial Expert from Česká spořitelna, Mr. Tomáš Čoček, Deputy Director General for Economy from Správa železnic, and Mr. Ornst, Head of PPP Projects, Ministry of Transport. So I would like to kindly ask Mrs. Mlodzik to take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. So as an introduction that was already mentioned, the payment mechanism will be availability payments, right? Here we need to talk about 4 parts of availability payments, right? In Czech koruna, in euro, and both in each of them indexed or fixed part, right? The whole structure of availability payment will be fixed by the bidder in the final bid, right? Of course, it's availability payments, so they are subject to deductions, right? Subject to deductions regarding availability, quality, performance. And all of that will be used by the way of proportionality. Regarding indexation, as I already said, the availability payment can be indexed, right? It can be indexed, of course, by publicly available indexes, right? Eurostat and the Czech ones. And additionally to indexation of availability payments, we already foresee the indexation of construction works. Given long construction period and what happened to the inflation and construction costs in the recent years, we're already working on the formula, all right? So that would be the payment mechanism. We'll give some time later on for discussion and questions if you've got more questions in details. So if we can go to the other slide, which would be basically the financing structure. So first of all, regarding the whole financing structure, we're following the Eurostat rules. This is the basic rule that we would like to stick to it during the whole process, and we wouldn't like to hear suggestions during the competitive dialogue that would go beyond that, right? So regarding the debt commitment, there were already some questions about multilaterals. We've got here together EBRD and EIB financing representatives, but please don't look at Marcus. He's at advisory part of EBRD. So regarding the debt commitment, of course, we're working very hardly on possibility of financing of the project by EIB and EBRD. And in this sense, what we would like to have at the bid is soft commitment, of course, because we know that hard commitment is impossible, for this tranche of the debt. We're not saying that it must be there. We say that for this portion, we're expecting soft commitment. And for the rest, as of today, our preferable solution is hard commitment, all right? So what we definitely would like to see is the lender's due diligence required during the negotiations, during the competitive dialogue, right? I think that was already mentioned in the introduction within the risk matrix, that the risk of market-based rate movements will stay on public side between the BAFO and financial close. We can go more into details after that, but it's quite a common practice, right? And regarding the expected financial structure, those who are not really following the pilot project here in Czech Republic, the leverage can be quite aggressive from the first sight, right? Because we're thinking of leverage of 90% of debt. Definitely long-term financing, of course, with a reasonable tail, but we need to think about availability payments with a grantor who's very solvent, right? Regarding the debt financing, of course, the mix of Czech Republic and euro, which we understand that the bidders will adjust to the payment mechanism so that the two are in line, right? In this sense, I'm very happy to give the floor to EBRD and EIB representatives.
So yes, unlike my colleagues Marcus and Martin, who are advising public authority, public party to the proposed concession, I represent the banking team of EBRD, and we are the ones who would be interacting with the concessionaires who would be seeking financing for the investment from us. And as a banking team, we are acting completely separately from our advisory team, and we are not exchanging any information and operating on the basis of the strict Chinese wall principle. As a bank, EBRD would be very much interested to support the project with our financing. It fits our strategy, it's green projects, it's private sector investment, which we are always keen to support. In terms of financing instrument for the project, here we can be very flexible. We can always be as flexible as you may want us to be. We can support the project with traditional long-term loans. We can employ other forms of debt financing, for example, bonds, if you choose that route. But we can also provide equity and any equity-like instrument to support the concessionaires. The one thing, as an international financial institution, we cannot be exclusive, which we are supporting the project rather than any specific bidder. And before the preferred bidder is selected, we have to offer our support to all the bidders who are seeking our financing. And because we cannot be exclusive, our standard process is such that at the bidding stage, we normally would issue a support letter to those consortia who are interested to work with us and seek our financing. And in such support letter, we would broadly say that we confirm our interest in participating in the project, that we can provide up to 35% of total financing, and generally we are in line with the prevailing market conditions at the time. The final commitment of our financing will be subject to due diligence and obtaining all the relevant internal approvals and signing all the relevant agreements. And as such, we only progress to due diligence phase once the preferred bidder is selected. And this is our standard mode, and we have supported dozens of PPPs in our countries of operation in that manner. But in case potential bidders or concessionaires have any specific request at any phase of the bidding process, we always encourage them to reach out and discuss whatever needs to be discussed. The one thing we usually encourage the bidders to discuss at the early stage is environmental and social policy, but we can see from the presentation that it has been addressed already within our advisory assignment. But in any case, in case of any questions, we would encourage to reach out and talk to us. Thank you.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm also representing the lending team of EIB, working on project finance and structured finance operations. I would also like to take the opportunity to introduce my colleague in the audience, Gabriela Mates, who is the EIB representative in the Czech Republic and just took office this week. So what I can say, EIB is committed to support green mobility. We are very keen to support modal shift from roads to rail. The bank is very active in the rail sector and already providing finance to the Czech railway sector in the form of traditional public funding. And the bank has already a quite good understanding of the entire Prague railway line. Of course, a PPP is something a little bit different, so we will also need to carry out our full due diligence for this project, as we do for all the projects we finance. We will do this timely. We expect over the next few years, over the next few weeks, to receive a kind of approval to proceed with a project appraisal in order to have a formal EIB Board of Directors decision to confirm the eligibility of the project when the competitive dialogue starts. So then in terms of process, as it is the case for EBRD, we will also engage with all bidders who wish to do so. We are not entering into exclusive agreements with one bidder. And we will also provide support and soft commitments for the final bids. And then enter into the final due diligence phase once the concessionaire is appointed. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And now I would like to give the floor to the audience or participants if you have any questions. Okay, I can see gentleman behind, right there.
Thank you again. My second question to the EBRD and EIB team. Regarding the financing, are you considering euro financing, or are you able and capable of providing also Czech koruna financing? Obviously, what I mean especially is long-term local currency denominated debt, fixed rate or swapped? Thank you.
We can do both. On the EBRD side, we can do local currency, we can do euro, we can include a couple of tranches depending on the structure of the cash flows of the project. However, it's important to have in mind that with euro financing, we can usually, sometimes it comes a little bit cheaper, a little bit less expensive. And potentially we could slightly push the longer tenors with it, so it's so there should be balance between local currency and Eurofinancing take into account these factors?
Yes, as far as the EIB is concerned, we can also, in principle, provide financing both in euro and Czech crowns. Obviously, our funding base in euro is much larger than in Czech crowns. When funding into local currency, we will also hedge our position, meaning that we will also be bound by the limitation of the swap market. In terms of maturity and availability of hedging solutions.
Okay, thank you. Any more? Yes, I can see.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michal Tesař. I'm from company Newton, financial advisor. I would like to ask EBRD and EIB regarding the timing post the phase of the preferred bidder stage. So how much time will you need to complete the process to move from the soft commitment towards this preferred bidder, towards the hard and therefore towards the financial close?
Well, I would say we would be seeking about 6 months around this timeline.
So
maybe slightly longer.
In the case of EIB, first of all, I would invite all bidders who wish to do so to engage with us as early as possible, and not to wait the appointment of the concessionaire, to already exchange on terms, and then to turn our commitment to a soft commitment to really a finance document. There was no very formalized process. Where we have usually the most limitations is to get our board of approval, our board of directors approval, because they meet only a certain number of times each year. But this stage we would already have been achieved when you enter into the dialogue phase. So after this, we can be much more flexible, and yeah, the process is less constrained.
I would probably add that when we indicate in our timelines for approval, we usually seek something between 3 months, but sometimes between 3 and 6 months. But sometimes we can have flexibility to speed up the process. So, but I guess there should be a couple of months, a few months taken into account, allocated for.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Felix from Plenary Group. I just wanted to ask, was there an intention from government to provide a guarantee to underwrite the availability payments?
Okay. Mr. Tomáš, you can respond.
The response is easy, no.
No, so let's clarify.
Okay. May I kindly ask you, your board doesn't work, so if we can hand the microphone to Mr. Martinez, please. Can you hand the microphone to Mr. Martinez?
We just need this microphone.
So it's not that the payment is not guaranteed, but the payment is coming from Treasury to Ministry of Transport and from Ministry of Transport to the concessionary. So effectively, you are taking government of Czech Republic risk, but there is no direct warranty of payments from the Czech government in any form.
Yeah, maybe just to clarify. since the contract will be co-signed by Ministry of Transport, so if all the requirements is fulfilled, there is a guarantee, not just by Správa, but also by the ministry, that there is enough resources for the payment itself. But there will be no special guarantee for any loan which is held by the concessionaire.
Okay, maybe last question. Yes, I can see you.
Hi, Rupert Ingham from Grant Thornton Consultancy. You mentioned the deductions regime at the beginning. I just wondered if there was more you could say on that. Obviously, that could be something that's quite simple or could become quite complex. Is there more you can say on it now, or will it be part of the dialogue phase, in scope for the dialogue phase?
All right. So maybe I can take it firstly, and then we can complement. Basically, the deductions, right? They've got financial aspects, but technical, especially technical aspects. So first of all, here I would come back again to Eurostat rule. So basically, no availability, zero payment, right? So that would be the basic rule. But regarding all the parameters, and if you're asking about each of them, their weights, etc., this is something more technical, right? So we're happy to discuss that, at the networking afterwards, or someone from technical team. But definitely they will be available at the dialogue, right, to be reviewed and discussed.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Since we still have a couple of minutes left, maybe I would ask a question based on your presentation. My first question is whether the concessionaire will have any influence on the setting of the railway track charge. Maybe that's the question for Správa železnic from Mr. Tomáš Čoček.
Well, the charge won't be part of the payment. It will be set up and collected by Správa. So there is no need for the concessionaire to have any influence on the track charges. But it's true that we do need, or there could be a situation when we do need any information provided by the concessionaire, so the concessionaire will be obliged to provide us with the information for establishing the rate of the fee, and in some cases maybe even for collecting the fee. But let's say it's just the information. There will be no real and even no necessity for concessionaire to care about the fee itself. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. It seems that we have reached an end of the first part of today's event. I would like to thank you very much for your questions, and of course, thank you very much to our panelists from the Czech Republic as well as from abroad. And maybe I would like to conclude it a little bit, and don't worry, I'll be short. I'm starving too. So I hope that you enjoyed attending our event as much as we enjoyed putting it together. And of course, our panelists, all of us who participate on this project will be ready for your questions during the networking part. So once again, thank you very much, and please join us for light refreshment in the nearby premises. Thank you.